Hey everybody, Marcus Crawford here with the Idaho Quadcopter channel. We've got, I'm out at Heroes Park. It's about 65 degrees, 9-mile-an-hour winds sustained with 17-mile-an-hour gusts. I'm telling you, that's according to UAV forecast. It doesn't feel that windy, but there is a little bit of a breeze going out here today. Just wanted you to know the conditions. So what I have today is the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro, and there was recently some firmware updates. So I thought we'd try them out. We'd see how the things go, and there were a couple of them that I think are significant. So that's why I kind of wanted to get out and try them out. The other thing that I need to point out is I'm using a new, this will be the first time I use my iPhone 13 Pro Max to fly a drone. So it'll be the first time out with this guy as well. So we'll give that a shot. But I did upgrade to the latest firmware. I'm going to pull that up on my phone so I can get those numbers right. Okay, first there was an update for the transmitter, the HT018F transmitter, and they updated that to version 1.1.3. Now, the big deal is what it says it does. It says it strengthens connection reliability. Well, as you know, myself and a few others have had some issues sometimes. I had a really weird disconnection when I was out at the Snake River Canyon, and I've heard other people talk about issues. So hopefully that resolves some of that. Now, I can say that that is something that is very, very sporadic. Like I said, I've had a couple of issues. I've had many, many other perfect flights with it. So just making that clear. And then the control, or the drone itself is updated to version 1.3.4. So what that update consists of is it added vertical shooting, and that is for people, I'm sure, that post to TikTok and Instagram, etc. Gives you that portrait mode of vertical shooting. As a lot of you know, remember the original Mavic Pro had that available on it way back when, but it's available on the Zino Mini Pro now. HLOG format, which I'm sure is just a flat file for those of you that like to do your own color grading, etc. It added contrast, sharpness, and saturation adjustments, as well as AE lock. Now that auto exposure lock can be important because one of the complaints about the camera on this drone is that when you leave it in full auto, it continually changes that adjustment, and I've seen that as well. So that's probably an important one. And then for the flight control, it says it's optimized return to home mechanism, highly controllable. So I'm assuming what that means is when the drone is RTH, you can probably yaw the drone and look around. So we'll test that out. And then this is another interesting, is it increases the gimbal lookup mode. So that, I assume, is so that you can look up farther with the gimbal. I don't know how far up, but we'll definitely check that out. And then it also says open gimbal parameter adjustment. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that means. I know there's the adjustment on there for adjusting the horizon, so maybe it's, I don't know, some kind of enhancement to that. But anyway, well, I need to talk about something else here too. They also upgraded the app. So let's talk about that for just a second. So the X-Hubsan 2 app was updated to version 2.1.5. And then it says the same thing, added vertical shooting, HLOG format, contrast, sharpness, saturation, adjustable. So that's, you know, we know that that was added to the firmware on the drone. It's also in the app. And then it says the same thing about the gimbal, increase the gimbal lookup mode and open gimbal parameter adjustment. And then it said it added an FAQ module. So evidently someplace in there must be a place for frequently asked questions. But I guess that's about it. Let's quit messing around. Let's get this bird in the air. Okay, the aircraft is reporting ready to fly. I did a compass calibration. So we can't do anything in the camera menu until we take off. I'm showing 94% battery. I had it sitting there for a few minutes. I I had a do not fly warning, and which is something new on the controller that was scrolling across the LED screen, and then it asked for a compass calibration, which is normal. But anyway, we went ahead and did that, and now it's reporting ready to fly with GPS 14 satellites. So let me look at our menu, safety menu, real quick, just to double check, and you can see there everything is reporting as normal. Compass, horizontal calibration, and gimbal gyro. Yeah, looks like we're good on memory card. As you know, this is internal memory on this drone, and right there you can see it's telling us what the firmware, the individual firmware versions are. So anyway, we should be good to go. I guess we didn't look at this top here. It's telling us that on the 30th we're going to get that 48 megapixel. And on the 23rd has been completed the portrait mode, the same thing we were just talking about, and the transmitter, optimizing return to home strategy, height adjustable. Okay, so that's what that means. Evidently you can, you must be able to adjust the height as it's in return to home. I'm assuming that that's what that means. We'll mess around with it and we'll see. And it has a note on battery charging. Anyway, let's just go ahead and get this thing in the air. Let's quit messing around. So I'm going to do a takeoff on the app here. So hit and take off, and I'm sure you want to take off. And there it is. You know, this is one of the most steady drones that Hubsan has ever produced. I mean, you know, it's just hanging right there. So, you know, I think back on some of the other Zinos, and they all moved around a lot. So, not this guy. And we're just in normal mode here. And so that was a full yaw normal mode. Let's bring the drone in and get you a look at it. So pretty cool. You know, it wasn't long ago that I wouldn't have dared bring a Hubsan drone this close to the camera, but this guy you can. And boy, we had a big wind come up, and the drone is handling it just fine. It's holding its position well, so that's pretty cool. Had that happened on like the Zino 2, for instance, you'd really be backing the drone off here. But let me rock it, and you can see how that gimbal works, and back and forth. And while we're at it, let's we'll try it on when we get out flying here in a second. But let's see how far we can push that gimbal up. I'm going to push up on that gimbal wheel right now, and you see the drone moving around in the wind. So I'm pushing up on the gimbal, so it's at full height. So maybe that's something that I have to enable in the app. So let's look in here really quick and see. We've got our return to home height set way too high for where we're at here. Let's drop that down to about 35 meters. And anti-wind mode, FPV is on, searching for drone apron is on, so that's good. Let's look at the gimbal and see if there's something there. Gimbal pitch speed is what we want. Gimbal status. Let's look at advanced settings and see what we can see. There we go. So allow upward gimbal rotation. So I figured there must be a setting there someplace. And it also allows you PID parameter settings. But let's go ahead now. Let's get out of here. And now let's see if we can push that gimbal up. So I'm moving up right now, and look at that. Yeah, it's looking up. Yeah, well, that's great. That's awesome. So I'm going to move the drone around here and point it towards the park, and we got some trees. So on our droney, we're going to have to kind of move up rather quickly. So I'm going to move the drone over here just a little bit and point that camera down, because we are going to be going up pretty quick. So reverse and up now. So up and back and really high on that up stick to make sure we get over all those trees. And then I'm adjusting the vector just a little bit. Let's go higher yet. So you can see the wind there. And that's me adjusting the vector of our droney, because I want to stay over the park, and I'm going to move sideways here because I don't want to be over the walking path there. I want to make sure I'm well over the park. And I had a little bit of FPV freezing there. I don't know if you saw that. As I was adjusting the yaw, boy, all of a sudden it just took off. So I don't know if that was an FPV or the controls themselves, but gosh, okay, I see I forgot to start recording, and that's one of the things that I hate about this guy, that you don't get FPV first. So I'm just going to show you the screen recordings on this part. Let's start recording now. So let's go into that menu, and let's switch to, to video. Let's go into the menu and let's check things out here. Bitrate, I'm going to leave it on 100. Resolution, we're 4K 30. Vertical shot, we'll try that a little bit later there, but there's the switch for that. And then I see the switch for H-log, style natural, and then the white balance. I am going to go in there and lock that. So I'm just going to put it on manual, and we'll lock it on 5400 there. That way the drone isn't always trying to change the white balance while you're looking around. Gives you a more steady shot. Okay, so then let's go back in here and see what else we got. Gridlines on, memory cards. So I'm not going to mess with any of those other adjustments on saturation and contrast. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably better at that stuff than I am. I typically shoot in automatic. So yeah, I think we are ready to go here. Let's go ahead and start recording. So starting recording now. And so you can actually see what the video looks like now. I'm going to go to the other end of the park here, and then let's do a return to home, and we can check and see if we can adjust the height like it said there. And that's me picking the gimbal up to kind of get more towards that rule of thirds. And yeah, typical about, it looks like we're getting about 8 meters per second going out to the corner. And I'm definitely getting a little bit of stutter on FPV, which is interesting because I'm pretty darn close to the drone. Yeah, there again, you saw that. So we are, and you know, there was a bunch of lag there because I was completely stopped and the drone on my FPV screen was still moving forward. So that's not a good sign at all. That's either lag on FPV or lag in the controller itself, either of which are not good. So that's let me yaw back around and give you a shot of the Boise front. And I was holding the yaw button to the right, and look at that. Boy, it's really blocky. So that's tough. And I'm really I'm pointed right at the drone. So I don't know. That's not good when you're trying to fly a drone. You should have, when you're trying to get that shot, you can't do it when you get that kind of stuttering on FPV. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's try a return to home. I'm going to do it on the controller, and let's bring it back and let's see what we can do with regard to. And yeah, it's in return to home. We should see it turn around here. And if it did, I haven't seen it on FPV yet, so I don't know. Oh yeah, it was rising in height. Okay, so it turned around. What it was it was going up to its return to home height, the 35 meters we set. Now it said you could adjust the height, so let's try that. And look at that, we can. And let's see if we can adjust yaw here. No, we cannot. So what it does, it allows you to adjust height, which actually is pretty cool, because let's say your drone was in return to home and you were concerned, and boy, it didn't waste time getting back to us. Let me drop that gimbal down and we'll see if it'll get a precision landing here. Let's say you were in a return to home and you had your return to home height set, and you saw a tree in between you and where it was at, you would want that drone to be able to adjust its, to be able to get over the top. You'd want to be able to get higher than whatever that obstruction happened to be. So there it is. So it looks like it's found it. Let's see if it can hit it here. There's really virtually no wind right now. It's really dropped, so it should hit it. It picked up the gimbal by itself. Looks like it's going to be pretty close. Yeah, right in the right in the middle of the H, and look at it there. It at the very end there. That was really odd behavior. So it picked up. It had all 4 feet on the ground, and then it spun up the rear props and was picking up the back of the drone. So that was really strange. But anyway, let's go ahead and take off again, and let's try some of the other features on this drone. So as I moved the drone, I got a weak GPS signal, but then it came back here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a manual takeoff. So I'm going to go both sticks down and in. Both sticks down and out. I can't remember. Yeah, both sticks down and out on this guy. Then I'm going to move up on the left stick. And there's our takeoff. And let's go ahead and start recording again. Position. So we're recording one more time here. So what I want to do now is I'm going to get on the other side of the flagpole here. And we're going to do a, we're going to go put it into vertical recording mode and see what we get. And then maybe we can even try and do a manual orbit. So I'm actually physically looking at the drone. And it looked like we were close to that tree, but trust me, I was looking at the drone and we weren't. You know, one of the things that a lot of people say is, okay, when we talk about visual line of sight, etc., I can tell you, I always feel like I have better control of the drone when I'm looking at the FPV screen than when I'm looking up at the drone, but that's just me. Okay, we're going to stop recording here, and then I'm going to go into the menu, and we are going to go into, maybe that was right here. Yeah, vertical shot right there. Let's hit that. There we go. We got it. Look at that. That's interesting. I'm looking at it on my FPV screen. It makes for an interesting view. Okay, so let's get out of the menu, and let's start recording again. So you guys can see that recording. That is an interesting view, isn't it? I am going to raise the drone up because I want to make sure that we are well above everything, and we are. Because it's weird, as you can see, I don't have a lot of peripheral view of the drone here, of the FPV here in this mode. But let's see if we can do kind of a manual rotation around the flagpole here. Boy, that looks good, huh? There is nothing like the flag waving in the breeze. I just love that shot. And you know what? The other thing I'm going to say is that this is the most controllable drone that Hubsan has ever produced. I mean, it is really something. Okay, let's pick it up and let's move out here a little bit, and we can kind of look things over. That's me picking up the gimbal. And again, let's move out here over the park and just do a little bit of a flyabout. We've got 57% battery. I'm not sure that this is a mode that I would choose much, but if you were trying to match some drone footage up with some kind of footage that you were creating with your phone in vertical mode, I can see where it would be a really handy thing to have. Now, like I said, this isn't something, and that's me. I'm rotating the the drone around here so that we can look at some construction they're doing over here. So I want to make sure I'm not over the top of any of these guys, but that used to be just a green area there, and it looks like they're making more parking, and I think that this right here, let's move forward over the top of it, or closer to it. I think that those are going to be basketball courts again, to replace these ones where it used to be basketball courts where I'm standing right now, but I can't say that for certain. But we're not going to get any closer than that, but I'm going to move over so you can see kind of the construction you're doing, and you can see they built some islands and stuff there, so I just assume that's going to be more parking for that stuff. So that's what's going on there. So we've got enough battery here that I think we can probably go across the street and go over the field over there. So let's do that. I'm going to pick that gimbal back up, and this is going to be a vertical video here. So, you know, here's what's interesting too, is the issues that I was having earlier with FPV seem to have resolved themselves. It seems to be pretty good now. I'm not having those issues that I had earlier. And there's some people fishing over by the pond, so we're going to make sure we avoid them. And in fact, just for the fun of it, let's put this guy in sport mode. So I came to a stop. Sport mode, here we are, and let's go out over the field. And I'm looking up into the sun, and boy, that drone is moving along. So let's go out behind the Walmart over there and see if we have any. I can see there's a truck there, so I'm gonna get around the other side of that. Don't want to go over the top of him. And again, let's see, we're only 30 meters high. Let's grab some altitude, because altitude is your friend when you're trying to maintain a good connection. So 45 meters high, nearly 45 meters, that's pretty good. And again, it's so unusual for me to look at this vertical video mode that it's kind of weird. I'm gonna even go a little bit higher. And anybody that's watched my channel before is familiar with where we're at. Now we'll head out towards this intersection here, and we're not going to go across it, but we're going to go out there a ways. So we're out about 700 meters. Seems to be doing pretty good. Again, well, I'm starting to get a little bit of stuttering on FPV now. Yeah, yep. I am, and I see some issues with telemetry here too, so I'm going to let go of the stick. And yeah, so it went, as you can see, you saw the blockiness there. We're out 861 meters, and boy, I'm yawning around, and that's definitely blocky. Ooh, boy, wow, so I really overshot there. I wanted to show you kind of a vertical view of Walmart here. That's that mega Walmart. So okay, so let's leave the camera pointed in this direction, and let's hit return to home on the app, and let's see how quick this guy gets back to us here. And I'm going to go ahead and put it back into normal mode, and we're going to hit return to home on the app to the takeoff point. And
return to home.
Here it comes. And it's already over what we had set for our return to home height. And it's coming back to us at about 11 meters per second, which is less than full speed in sport mode, but more than full speed in normal mode. And it took that command immediately. So there was no problem there, and it's heading back to us. Again, let's see if we can raise some altitude here. Yeah, so that altitude is adjustable. So that's what they changed there. And I'm going to try and yaw again here. It does not take yaw commands. Let's try banks. No, it does not take bank commands either. So what they did is they changed it so you could just so you could adjust altitude only. So here it comes, and let's see how close we get to a landing here. And we're down to about 37% battery. And that, of course, is me dropping the gimbal down so that we can see how close it gets. Okay, the gimbal is full down. Let's see what we got here. Reorients itself, and it should be coming down. Oh, it says it can't search for the drone apron in vertical shot mode, so that's all right. It looks like it's pretty close. We're just going to let it land. We're on concrete here, so it's not going to hurt anything, but that's good to know. It gave us that message. So if you're in vertical mode, remember, you're not going to get a precision landing. But as you can see here, it looks like it's going to be darn close anyway. So I wonder, what we're going to do here is once it lands, look at how close it is. It's going to be darn close. And let's see if it picks up the camera, even though, look, it's going to be, heck. Okay, look at this, guys. Even without precision landing,
FPV has been turned off.
Right on the
it will turn on automatically.
But the other thing I noticed is that it didn't
off.
pick up the camera. So I'm picking up the camera myself right now. I'm looking at the drone. So you're not going to see that because it shut off FPV. Okay, what I want to do now, we've got enough battery. I want it 32%. I want to take off again, and I want to see if it defaults back to regular mode in video, or if I'm going to have to go back in and change it. So we'll find out here. So let's go ahead and take off. Let's do an auto takeoff on the app. No, so look at that. It stayed in vertical mode.
Please fly with caution.
So let's go ahead. Let's
Refresh
go back
the return point.
the app
Please
here
mind the return position.
and turn off vertical shot while I'm trying. There we go. Okay, so now we're in regular mode. I prefer that. I'll tell you that. So let's go ahead and let's head back out over the park again. We've got some. We've got plenty of room left or battery left here to kind of fool around a little bit. So again, what I want to point out is often we're at a pretty low level here, and I am often more comfortable flying the drone in FPV than I am. So we're below the level of these trees, and again, it's often more comfortable in FPV mode. So I am full stick forward, low to the ground here. So let's get it out there a ways at this low height. And that baby is moving right along, let me tell you. Oh, I forgot to hit recording. See, I'll tell you, I hate about this. Okay, so I started recording. So you guys are going to see that on the screen recording, the first part. Anyway, here we are recording again. And we're at the other end of the park. And heck, I've got a better view now than I did. So let's hit return to home here and see if it rises to that return to home height. It should. I'm doing it on the map or on the app. And
return to home.
Yeah, there it is. So it's in return to home, and it's picking itself up. It should go up to 35 meters. It'll get up to that 35 meter height, and it'll come back to us. So good to know. That was worth the test. Now I see those dogs out there, so I'm glad I'm glad we're picking the drone up, because wouldn't it be weird if the last thing you saw was a dog jumping, grabbing the drone? That wouldn't be good, would it? So now it should turn around and head back to us. Any minute now. Oh, it's not up to 35 meters yet. There it is. It figured it was close enough. So it's coming back, and we'll try for another precision landing here. I got to tell you, it's interesting. This drone has some interesting things on it. There's times that it works just like what you would want it to, and there's other times that you see some of those anomalies that make you scratch your head. Like I said, things like some of the blockiness that I had on the FPV screen there, that it makes it really hard to get good shots when you can't count on the FPV screen. We had some lag there, And in other situations, we were in the same spot and had no problems. And I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Okay, so there it sees the landing pad, so it'll be moving over. And when it's in landing mode now, it should, oh, and it moved way off. It's weird, it had it and then it just moved way off. Yeah, and it's, I'm gonna move the camera around here, I don't know, so you can see it on the GoPro. Wow, look at how far off we are. That was interesting. So I wasn't watching the FPV screen there, and I didn't see what happened.
FPV has been turned off.
I didn't see
it
it
will
when it
turn on
lost
automatically
the target.
after the
So that was kind of
aircraft
interesting
takes
that
off.
it moved so far off. Hey, okay, the Zino Mini Pro. That was an interesting flight. So I want to take care of some other business before we start talking about this guy. When I came back to do the conclusion here, I came back to my GoPro Hero 10 and it was frozen. It was locked up. Now that's been a GoPro problem for a while. My Hero 9 did that a few times. Now this is the first time I've seen it on the Hero 10, but it's disturbing. The only thing you can do then is reboot it. So I take the camera out of the media mod, pull the battery out, push the battery back in because it's just locked up, it's just frozen. Now, interestingly enough, as soon as I did that and I turned the camera back on, it told me that it was repairing the file, then it said file repaired. So I don't know how much GoPro, and of course, probably at that point of the video, I was using the GoPro more to record audio than anything else. But you guys should, you know, hopefully it got it enough where you saw the landings that the drone did. So not sure if we got that or not. You guys will know already. But anyway, let's get back to talking about the drone. So again, you know, it didn't even get hardly warm to the touch, and I realize this is a fairly cool day, but I'm telling you, the way it was before, it would have really got hot. So they've definitely improved something in the firmware there to take care of that. And then secondly, that vertical format is interesting. It works, and for you guys that post to Instagram and TikTok, I'm sure that's going to be valuable, right? I mean, you're going to be able to match that up with your cell phone footage perfectly, and that'll look pretty good when you get it all edited out. And I suppose, I'm quite sure you could probably upload directly to TikTok from the, well, maybe not from the app, but I'm sure from your phone after you got done. So at any rate, then we also, you saw that and you've been able to do that for a while, we locked the white balance in place, and then we showed you the adjustments for contrast, sharpness, and saturation, I believe the other one was. So it's nice to know that you manual guys can adjust that stuff. You know what I didn't see that I'm thinking about now is the exposure value lock, the AE lock it said. Anyway, auto exposure lock. Anyway, maybe I just missed that, so that's something we'll have to save for another video. But let's see, what else? The landings were interesting. It will not, we discovered that it will not, when it's in that vertical mode, it will not do a precision landing, although our landing was right on the pad just by GPS when it did that. Conversely, we took off again, we flew out, precision landing on, and it looked like it was going to hit the target, and it landed about, I don't know, 6 or 8 feet away, so I don't know what was going on there. Interesting. The other thing is that it said it improved controller connection. Now, what I will say is we had no disconnects, which is awesome. You do not want disconnects. And I was flying at fairly low level at a ways out. So when the drone is lower to the ground, obviously it's harder for the signal to get to it as opposed to having it way up in the air. But what we did see on several occasions, I saw some lag on FPV, which is a problem. If you're trying to get a shot and you can't see what that camera's pointed at, it makes it impossible. So don't know what that was about. Other times in the same spot it was perfect, so I can't really speak to that. I don't know why it did that. But then I saw a little bit of it when we were across the street, when we were out there. I don't know, we were probably 800 or 900 meters away, and when we were in vertical mode and I was turning it, it got really blocky. The FPV feed did. So that's something that they can probably continue to work on. I will add one thing. This is a challenging Wi-Fi environment we're in here with all the houses and businesses and everything. They're all blasting out Wi-Fi, so it's just worth mentioning that. So I guess that's about it. I also will say that this is no doubt the best flying, best handling Hubsan drone ever. I mean, it flies really well, and that's really great. And in fact, you saw when we were flying at low level out there across the park, the drone, it just stayed right at that level. Let me tell you, if you tried that with some of the other older Zinos, yeah, you probably would have drilled it right into the turf, but this guy handled it no problem. Hey, just one more thing I want to add here. Just as I was finishing that conclusion, I heard a model rocket take off out in the park, and it's just an interesting thought to me. And listen, I have no problem with that. I'm glad that they do it. It's a great hobby. I used to do it when I was a kid. But it's interesting that we are so controlled by the FAA on our little itty-bitty drones, yet you can fire an uncontrolled missile straight into the air, which is what those model rockets are. Anyway, just a little bit weird. I don't know. I don't want to get them in trouble with the FAA either. Next thing you know, they'll come out with a bunch of regs for model rockets. But anyway, I just thought it was just an interesting situation. So anyway, that's enough jibber jabber. This is Marcus Crawford with the Idaho Quadcopter channel out. And if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. And most of all, I really appreciate you taking the time to look at this video. And yeah, there it is, the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro. Interesting little drone. I'm glad they're making improvements on it. See you guys later.